Okay, welcome back to lighting and render for Fusion 360. This is part 3 of the 5-part little tutorials. This time I'm going to show you how to make and set up ground plane, your own ground plane, to which you can add texture or material. So I have already prepared here body 4, which is the ground plane I have constructed. So I'm going to show you right now. There it is. It's pretty big, and yeah, I did that actually. If I'm going back here, editing the feature, I just created a box and went minus 10 millimeters to go below the ground level, and that's it. And then I came here, let me check, yeah, top front corner. I came here, right click, sorry, came to the body, right click, appearance, and I chose 3D wood, which is in the wood solid materials from Fusion 360. Pick up an unfinished 3D wood. And I picked up 3D oak unfinished. Apply it to the object, and then I came back on it, which is this one. Double click on it. I wanted to change the roughness of the wood, so I can modify it here. Late wood roughness, you can find it here. The ring thickness, which is the thickness of the rings that show up, as you can see here on the texture, they are larger or smaller depending on the size of the rings. You know, trees are made out of concentric rings, and here you can modify it. Ring bump is the amount of texture you want to give to those rings and the way they're going to protrude from the material. Okay, looks pretty good. I'm showing the pores of the wood and the rays. Click done, close it. Now I'm coming here, realign my view. I can go to render, and I'm gonna first start with my usual cool light studio environment. I'm gonna check here. My default lighting is 1000 lux, so I'm gonna go up to 1500. I'm going up this time to 1500 instead of 1750 because the white, the pretty clear white material that I have applied to my ground, to my board, if you prefer, is pretty light, so it's gonna reflect and refract a lot of light. So this is why I'm gonna try with 1500 and even maybe 1200. That might not be enough. Let's say 1300. 1300 looks good. Let's run an in-canvas render. Okay, it looks pretty nice. So I'm going down the list. It's a ground plane, flattened ground. I'm not using reflections here, they're useless because the material, most materials, they already have a reflection map or a way to reflect or refract the light. So I'm not using reflection here. The camera is always perspective. My focal length, since it's a small object and I want it detached from the background, is 104 millimeters. My exposure is the same, 9.5 EV. Depth of field, I'm not using it, but you could. Put it back, 9.5. There you go. I'm not using DOF. Looks pretty good that way. A 16:9 widescreen, and that's it. So I have already set up those renders earlier, so I'm gonna stop the in-canvas render. Web render, web being the type of resolution, which is the more resolution, 800 by 600. A quick render took less than 2 minutes. Then we're going back to Fusion. This time I'm going to apply, like we did earlier, I'm going to apply a skylight environment, much brighter. I'm going back here to settings. I might go down to 20,000 because for the same reason I lowered my lux index before, my brightness, because the material I'm using for the board is pretty light and reflects a lot of light. So I'm not touching anything else. The exposure is preset by the environment, which is a daylight environment, 13.4 EV exposure. Aspect ratio doesn't change. Everything stays the same. I'm closing it, running in canvas render to double check my lighting is correct. And it looks correct from here. We're gonna wait an extra second. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna stop this, and I already have this rendered earlier. So I'm gonna show it to you. Yeah, there it is. This is with skylight and this is with cool light. You can see pretty clearly the difference. Brighter on the side, the light is more diffuse with the skylight. Here the light is sharper, you have sharper shadows, and the grain of the material pops up pretty well. Here it's more diffuse. We go back to Fusion 360, and this time I'm going to apply the same environment we used in part 1 and 2, which is the dry lake bed environment. As you can see, everything changes here. We go back to settings. I have 36,000. I might go down to 32,000 because it's a real bright material I'm using for the ground. I'm not touching anything else. I might try to check the light position, the environment, but that looks good from here. Nothing else needs to be changed. I'm running in canvas render. Looks really bright and popping up. Looks really good. Wait an extra few seconds. Reaching 15 seconds. I already pre-render that model, and that model is there. Here it is. You can see it's more bluish in the shadows because you have the sky light diffusion. Here you can see it's pretty bluish on top because of the sky, the color of the sky. Again, this is 800 by 600 web quality render, so it's pretty basic. And finally, this is full print quality 5x7 print, and this is another one which is I have modified. I have did some post-production on it. It's not to make it less sharp, more natural, but it doesn't look really good. So you can leave it as it is, and if it's not fine, then you know you need to lower the light or your environment light. So that's it.